So, Cardfight Vanguard Zero is releasing worldwide in a few hours, assuming I have timed this correctly, and I have had the chance to play the game for 2 weeks before that point, from March 26th, and I've played around about half an hour or so of the game per day up until that point, so that's quite a few hours. It's around 7 hours or so, give or take. And I know other people have played longer, but I just wanted to give my opinions of the game and a brief look at whether or not it's actually worth playing, as well as answer some frequently asked questions and that kind of thing, just to kind of give you a sort of understanding as to what exactly this game actually is, and whether it's worth playing. So, the first question that's really important to say is, well, I mean, first of all, I need to keep pressing my screen because the phone gets a little annoying, I guess, and pissy at me if I don't constantly keep pressing the screen. But the first thing to say is that, yes, this is beginner friendly. In fact, that's kind of a problem with it, actually. It's very beginner friendly to a fault, to the extent that it's probably going to turn away experienced fans just because of how railroaded the beginning few hours are. If I can show you, here in the training flight section is the tutorial that you have to go through, and it is very, very long. And not only that, but the first few missions in the story, and the first few just missions and stuff in general, they make sure you know how everything works within the first few hours of this game. And this may become a little tedious for people who are already familiar with Cardfight Vanguard, but actually there's some changes to the formula, and we'll get to that in a little bit later on. So yes, it's a very kind of, I guess, slow start, but it's very fun nonetheless. And that basically means that if you're someone who doesn't know anything at all about this franchise, this is actually a pretty good place to drop in, especially right now with the current state of the world. I'm not going to go into that too deep, but, you know, this is actually a pretty good way of getting your trading card game fix without having to leave the house, which is really cool. So, the story mode is the 2011 anime. They recap the events of the 2011 anime, and you get to play through the card fights. And that's about it, really. They will add more of the story later on in future updates and stuff. But for anyone expecting a new story with new characters or anything like that, no, you're not going to have that. This isn't like certain Yu-Gi-Oh games where you get to create your own character or anything. Nope, nothing like that. You are just playing through the already existing story. And that's fine. For a mobile game, that's actually, that's adequate, that's acceptable. And the story is told through pretty decent, visual novel style cutscenes. They're nothing amazing, they're definitely not a good way to experience the story for the first time, but that's fine because you can just watch the anime alongside it anyway, right? Even if you are new to the franchise, you can just kind of watch the anime as you're playing and that kind of thing, so that's fine. So now let's get into some of the nitty-gritty deck stuff, because I imagine that's what a lot of the questions are going to be. So if you can see at the bottom here by the gacha part, those are the 4 decks you're going to be starting with. So the 4 decks that you can currently play are Royal Paladin, Kagero, Oracle Think Tank, and Nova Grappler. And that's to the surprise of no one, at least anyone who is familiar with the anime at all, because those are the decks used by the main 4 characters. I saw someone ask, and let's go to my cards, I saw someone ask, is this like Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links where you get to choose which deck you start off with? Because in Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Link, it lets you choose whether you want to start with the Dark Magician deck or the Blue Eyes deck. No, you're going to be starting with Aichi's Royal Paladins, no matter what, basically. However, the game does give you lots of opportunities very, very early on to play with the other decks too. There's an abundance of card openings. They will give you, if anything, too many packs at first to kind of overwhelm you. So you will be collecting cards and building decks in no time flat. And the beginner deck they give you is a quote-unquote Royal Paladin deck. But the reason I say quote-unquote is because it's actually filled almost entirely with Cray Elementals, which are a filler clan that exists to just kind of fill out the decks with pretty mediocre at best cards. So that you are incentivized to kind of open packs and fill the deck in yourself with the Royal Paladin cards you obtain. But again, you don't even need to rely on the creator-built decks at first if you're not comfortable with that, because they will make you use decks they build for you for the first few missions and stuff anyway. So let's get into the deck building, because there's a lot of changes here. So I already mentioned this game is beginner friendly, right? So if you're a beginner and the stuff I'm about to say is gonna like alienate you, that's fine, because this is stuff that's more aimed at people who are already familiar. So if you're someone who is not familiar with Cardfight Vanguard, just download the game and just do what the tutorial tells you and just disregard everything I'm about to say. Because this game has made significant changes to the card game. Yes, you aren't just playing Cardfight Vanguard here, you're playing, well, Cardfight Vanguard Zero, and it's quite a heavy difference. So if you'll see here at the top of the screen, they've actually changed how decks work. No longer do you have a 50 card deck, you actually have a 40 card deck that is always comprised of 1 grade 0, 13 grade 1s, 13 grade 2s, 13 grade 3s. And that's very weird, and it takes a little while to get used to. So your grade 0 is going to be your starting Vanguard, and then you will have a shield, and then you're probably wondering, okay, what about triggers? Well, the triggers are now the grade 3s, if you can see here. Yes, grade 0s have been pretty much entirely taken out, and their shield and their triggers have been given to the grade 3 units, and you can manually select which grade 3s have which triggers. It's a really weird system, but that's weird. Yeah, it actually works. I actually don't hate it. I think it's quite fun, and I wouldn't mind playing a version of the physical Cardfight Vanguard that went along this rule set. It is just different, and it takes a little while to get used to. As I mentioned, if you're a new fan, then, well, it won't take time to get used to, because this will be how you get taught it. But it is weird to, it's something to bear in mind that this is actually very much different to the actual card game, which I think is it's both a plus and a minus. I think it fits being a phone game and also just being its own thing a bit better, but it also does kind of negate, like, it's not what everyone wanted, right? What everyone wanted is they wanted Cardfight Online, which was a cancelled PC Cardfight Vanguard game that was going to be faithful to the card game. This feels like a bit of a half measure. It feels like they're intentionally not giving us quite what we want, but it's still very, very fun, and it's close enough. But it's also different enough that it's kind of, it's grown its own sort of gathering, it's grown its own sort of meta, it's grown its own sort of thing. So anyone who is familiar with the current decks, the reboot era of decks, will notice that this game does not have imaginary gifts or any of the new stuff like that. It doesn't have limit breaks, it doesn't have strides, it doesn't have legions, it doesn't have anything like that. We are starting very bare bones, very back to basics. When I said this was doing the 2011 stuff, I really meant it, because even the card game itself is very back to basics, and hell, right now we only have 4 playable clans. But they're being added very, very quickly. It won't be a matter of time until we get new clans that we can play with, new mechanics. The Japanese version has already gotten up to limit breaks, and yeah, so it's cool because jumping in right now with the English version is really cool, because you get to kind of learn the game as it grows and be there as it adds new clans and mechanics and stuff, and you can kind of use these first 4 clans they give you as a way of sort of easing yourself into it, even if you aren't the biggest fan of any of these 4. Which is cool, and plus the 4 are so varied and have their own gameplay styles to them that you're still bound to be drawn to one more so than the others. For example, right now I'm more drawn to Oracle Think Tank, and the cool thing is they're all competitive to some extent. Kagerou's more competitive than the others right now, but none of them are going to get completely destroyed, which is really cool. And again, it's a cool way of being beginner friendly and experiment and encouraging you to experiment. So that's really cool. So another thing is cards don't shield anymore. You have a perfect guard, which is this card here, but you can't shield normally. Instead, what the game does is you'll attack the opponent's Vanguard, and then that opponent's Vanguard will immediately gain 5,000 defense after you've attacked them. And that's their way of getting around it. Again, different. I kind of prefer it, actually, to some weird extent, but it is a bit weird. It is a bit different. It's going to take a little while to get used to. But again, the game's just different now, which I think, again, is its own plus and its own minus, you know. And yeah, you can kind of build your decks. See, I've already started building decks of all 4 of the current clans, and just because there's only 4 that you can currently play and pull in the Ganches, it doesn't mean they're the only ones you're going to be playing against, because I've already played against a Mega Colony deck in story mode by now, so there's still a little bit of variety there, so that's good. Let's see, so there's the My Room feature. I'm not even going to open it up because it's a storefront where you get to use your currency that you've earned to buy furniture and place it down. And you may be thinking, that's weird and out of place, and I agree, it is weird and out of place. But it exists. Yep. Okay, so what other stuff is there? So there's a lot you can do. There's a lot of missions, there's like training fights, challenge fights, there's the crafting. This game allows you to craft cards out of materials that you get. Oh. I've already fought them though. They're at friend level 2. See, I've already fought them. That's weird. It must be the new update. I don't know. But basically, yeah, you can fight these characters with their decks, with your own deck too. You can fight them with the deck that you've made against them and their deck, basically. And when you beat them, you will gain friend levels and get crafting materials. And you can use those crafting materials to craft any card you want. Well, actually, the specific clan that those cards belong to, basically. And it's interesting because unlike a lot of other trading card games, you don't need to pull a copy of that card first to craft it. Usually in these kinds of games, you'll have to pull a card once, and then it will let you craft all the other copies of that card, the duplicate, so that you have the amount you need. Whereas with this, you can just straight up craft a card you don't already have yet. However, the rare cards are pretty expensive to craft and they get pretty grindy, but this is a gacha game, so there's a balance to everything, right? There's a balance to everything. I don't think it's unbearable, but it is something to bear in mind. So yeah, here's the crafting menu, if that'll open up. And here's all the cards you own, and then you can put it to all. And then, yeah, sure, let's show off the fact that you can craft anything, right? So let's go, we're only going to craft a common for now. Yeah, let's craft a bar, see? And I'm just going to craft him, and I'm going to use 100 of my 4,900 materials. He's only a common, so he's very, very easy, and boom, I've got myself another bar. I did already have a copy of him beforehand, but now I have another one. So that's how the crafting works. You get materials and stuff by fighting the other characters. And that's basically Cardfight Vanguard Zero. There's a stamina meter, but I mean, as you can see there, I'm certainly not running out of stamina anytime soon. You're going to need it though anyway. You're going to want to use it sparingly because the crafting does get very tedious and uses up a lot of stamina when you get to it. But again, I've only been playing a little bit and I haven't really got to the point where I want to be grinding that much. In terms of how packs and stuff, so each pack, that's actually a really important thing to show off actually in the shop. Each pack costs 100 gems, right? Hopefully this will load. Last time I tried to record this, it didn't load properly, so that's another thing. The game's a little glitchy. So basically what will happen is every once in a while, not often, only a handful of times, it will refuse to connect during the loading screens, and you'll have to close the app and open it again. This is only during the loading screen, so you're not going to get a card fight interrupted or anything. And it does only take 2 seconds to close the app and open it again. So it's not too big a deal, but it's something to think about and be wary of. And it's something that I'm expecting them to fix, right? So I currently have 1,260 gems in the top right there, and I have 9 tickets in the bottom right there. And that means I could probably get, so 100 gems per pack, so that's 12 packs, and that's 9, so that's 21 packs. So I already have enough to get a lot of packs, and I've already been opening them too. So they give you packs very liberally to begin with, intentionally. Let's be honest, these kinds of games will intentionally give you a lot at the beginning to kind of get you hooked on it. But even then, even as the game continues, it doesn't get particularly grindy every time you grade up here. So by completing fairly menial, fairly easy missions and stuff, you will grade up. I keep saying level, but it's grade. And every time you grade up, you get 100 gems. So that's another free pack. So again, it's not too bad, and you get packs as login bonuses too. I think you get on average around 2 packs every week if you log in every single day, which again isn't too bad if you put that on top of you grading up. So you're probably wondering, okay, what about the paid gems? And I think if I go back, I can show you how the paid gems work in UK currency, unfortunately, because, well, yeah, I'm from the UK. So 100 gems, as we saw, was 1 pack. So you can kind of look here and kind of decipher for yourself how much an average pack is worth. So the cheapest we can get to get a pack is £3.39, and that's for 2 packs. So that's around about a digital pack in this game costs around about half the price of a normal real life pack, I would say. Which isn't too bad, and you have this VIP pass, which is basically their version of like the subscription model, where every 14 days you pay a subscription cost of £9.49, and you just get given 50 gems a day every day. So there's that. I feel like if you get that, that's very, very steep, but also if you get that, you're never realistically going to have to pay real money for anything in this game ever again, so it's a trade-off. So I opened the shop again, but excuse me there. So, there's also the item exchange, which is the V medals. Basically, you get a V medal, as it will say here, every time you open a pack. And so I've currently got 34, so that's how many packs I've already opened, and I can open another 21, so yeah, that's a lot of packs. And the V medals are how you buy skins and stuff. You can buy, so for example, I want a Miwa card sleeves, and I want to play as Miwa and all that other stuff, then I can buy that for 200 V medals. And then also you can use this to buy extra packs. This is what the gacha ticket is. You can spend 50 V medals, so every time you open 50 packs, then you could save up and get another free pack, or you could use it to get other cards you need, like Battle Riser and Lozan Magus and Blaster Blade, and more My Room coins, so you can buy more fake furniture to put in your weird little room there. And that's Cardfight Vanguard Zero, basically. The game is just switching between all the different things that I've said there. There's the recommended decks section, which is really cool if you are a beginner, because if you're someone who's not very familiar with building decks and all that other kind of thing, then you can just look at these deck lists that they give you for free and just copy it and trace it over to your deck. So even if you're not familiar with deck building, you can just kind of get a head start there. So yeah, that's Cardfight Vanguard Zero. It's a really fun game. Basically, the actual card fighting is very, very slick, very fun to do. The story is progressing fairly slowly, which is weird, but not like glacially. The rewards they give out over in an abundance. The online mode, I can't say for myself because I haven't got there yet, but I will soon. So if you want to see that, subscribe to the channel, and I will make videos about the online mode when I get to it. And there's already, like, yeah, maybe starting with only 4 clans is a bit small, but it does grow very quickly over time anyway. So do I recommend this game? Yeah, pretty much. Basically, the only reason I wouldn't recommend this game is if you're someone who's specifically into whatever the actual real card game is currently doing right now, because you're not going to get that here. You're not going to get your Majesty Lord Blaster deck in this game anytime soon. But if you're someone who just wants a casual, fun little game to play on their phone, this is actually about as good as it gets. I was a little disappointed when this game was first announced because I was worried they would like simplify the game down too much, or they would rely on the gacha systems too much, or this or that, right? But actually, it's not bad. It's very fun and satisfying to play. You can tell they've put the 2 or so years worth of work into this. You can tell they really cared. And it's a lot of fun. It genuinely is. I'm really enjoying it so far as a Cardfight Vanguard fan, and especially as a Cardfight Vanguard fan who's been a little bit disappointed by the stuff Vanguard's been doing recently with both the anime and the card game. I'm not going to go too deep into it, of course, but like, I'm not the biggest fan of the order cards at the moment. I'm not the biggest fan of the reboot era anime at the moment. You know, so this has actually been kind of a bright spot, and it's kind of gotten me more excited and pumped up for Vanguard as time has progressed, which is interesting, and I wasn't expecting to say that about a mobile free-to-play gacha game. Is it You know, is it going to bring back Cardfight Online? Is it going to serve as a replacement for that? No, probably not. But at the end of the day, it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. And if this seems like something you'd enjoy too, it's a free download. The download is around 100 or 200 meg. And when you open it and complete the first couple tutorial things, it will force you to install an update that is around 700 meg. So beware of that, by the way. And yeah, that's Cardfight Vanguard Zero. So if you want, and this is another thing I probably should have mentioned earlier, but if you want, I've been recording myself playing through the game, if you didn't know. I've been doing a playthrough series of Cardfight Vanguard Zero from the beginning up until how I got to this point, and I've been uploading those daily. So if you want to see a more in-depth sort of look as to like how things happen as they progress, you want to see someone playing through the first few hours of the game and getting to grips with it and that kind of thing, then definitely feel free to check that out. I'm a pretty big fan of that playthrough myself. It's one of my favorite things I've done for the channel recently. So that'll give you a bit of a feel for how the game really works and what it's like to actually be playing someone playing it. And that'll give you a better kind of feel for whether or not this game is worth getting. So yeah, I was cynical at first. I was pretty cynical about this one at first, but it's won me over so far. And I'll probably make another video like this in a little bit where I give kind of more updated thoughts as I've had a bit more time of it, maybe once we get to the first major update or something like that. But for now, yeah, I recommend it. I recommend this game quite a bit. So yeah, that's where I'm going to end it for here. And I will see you later if you decide to keep watching and subscribe and so on and so forth, because YouTube basically requires you to say stuff like that for your channel to exist anymore. Where I make more Vanguard Zero videos and more just Vanguard videos in general. So I will see you later, and feel free to tell me what you think of the game itself below.